Hello and welcome back to another Magic the Gathering EDH deck tech idea. Today we are taking a look at Hashaton, Scarab's Fist. It is a 2 mana 1/3, and whenever you discard a creature card you may pay 3 mana. If you do, create a tap token that's a copy of that card, except it's a 4/4 black zombie. Hashaton is a powerful Esper commander that focuses on creating tokens of creature cards that you have discarded. So this deck focuses on ravaging through your deck and discarding powerful creature cards that you create token copies of, while also using the most powerful Esper elements to control the board and the stack. Hashaton comes out really early, so you can have very explosive turns in the early game, but for that to happen we need cheap discard outlets, so we can create powerful tokens early on. Discard outlets are, for example, Key to the City, a 2 mana artifact. You can tap it and discard a card, so up to one target creature can't block this turn. It is also another card draw engine, because whenever Key to the City becomes untapped, you may pay 2 mana, and if you do, draw a card. A really cool evasive creature is Malcolm Alluring Scoundrel, a 2 mana 2/1 with flash and flying, so you can bring this one in when your opponents don't expect you to, and whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you put a chorus counter on it. Then you draw a card and discard a card. If there are 4 more chorus counters on Malcolm, you may cast the discarded card without paying its mana cost. If you get to the point that you will have 4 chorus counters on this guy, it will be extremely powerful, as you can create a token copy of the creature you just discarded and then also cast it for free. We play Currency Converter, a 1 mana artifact, and whenever you discard a card, you may exile that card from your graveyard. Furthermore, for 2 mana and tapping it, you draw a card and discard a card. You can also tap it and put a card exiled with Currency Converter into your graveyard. If it's a land card, create a treasure token, which can help you to accelerate into your game plan. Or if it's a non-land card, create a 2/2 black rogue creature token. This artifact does a lot of work for us because it also rewards us for following our strategy. It helps us to do what we want to do by drawing and discarding, and it can also be great graveyard protection simply because we can put our discarded creature cards under the Currency Converter, so they are protected from our opponent's graveyard hate. We play Careful Study, a 1 mana sorcery, redraw 2 cards and discard 2 cards from our hand. A really scary creature for our opponents is Ralphine, Scheming Seer, a 3 mana 1/4 with flying and ward 1, and whenever you attack, target attacking creature connives X, where X is the number of attacking creatures. 1 attacking creature will already be enough because we can draw and discard, pump up our creature, and then also create a token copy of the discarded card. Last but not least, one of my favorite artifacts, Collector's Vault, a 2 mana artifact, and for 2 mana and tapping it, you draw a card, discard a card, and create a treasure token. And now let's talk about bombs that we want to create token copies of. We play Consecrated Sphinx, a 6 mana 4/6 with flying, and whenever an opponent draws a card, you may draw 2 cards. I do really like Sister Hospitaller in this deck, a 6 mana 3/2, and when it enters the battlefield, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield and you gain life equal to its mana value. To keep our opponent's boards in check, we play Archfiend of Ifnir, a 5 mana 5/4 with flying, and whenever you cycle or discard another card, put a -1/-1 counter on each creature your opponents control. You can also cycle this card for 2 mana, so you can replace it and then immediately pay 3 mana to create a token copy of this card. We play Sheoldred, Whispering One, a 7 mana 6/6 with Swamp Walk, and at the beginning of your upkeep, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Furthermore, at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, that player sacrifices a creature. For even more reanimation, we play Rhea Dawnbringer, a 9 mana 4/6 with flying, and at the beginning of your upkeep, you may return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Last but not least, we also play Toxrill, the Corrosive, a 7 mana 7/7, and at the beginning of each end step, put a slime counter on each creature you don't control. Creatures you don't control get -1/-1 for each slime counter on them, and whenever a creature you don't control with a slime counter on it dies, create a 1/1 black slug creature token. You can pay 2 mana and sacrifice a slug to also draw a card. With these creatures we keep our opponent's boards in check and also reanimate all of our cards in our graveyard, so that we from then on can take over the game. All that is left to do is keep our opponent's stack in check deck, so we play a bunch of counterspells. For example, Swansong, a 1 mana instant, counter target enchantment, instant or sorcery spell. Its controller creates a 2/2 bluebird creature token with flying. We play Arcane Denial, a 2 mana instant, counter target spell. Its controller may draw up to 2 cards at the beginning of the next turn's upkeep, and you draw a card at the beginning of the next turn's upkeep. We play Counterspell, a 2 mana instant, counter target spell. An offer you can't refuse, a 1 mana instant, counter target non-creature spell, and its controller creates 2 treasure tokens. Dovin's Veto, because we are in Esper colors, a 2 mana instant, this spell can't be countered and counter target non-creature spell. And of course Fierce Guardianship, a 3 mana instant, if you control a commander you may cast a spell without paying its mana cost and counter target non-creature spell, which is extremely powerful, especially since Hashaton only costs 2 mana, so you might find yourself in a really good spot to have this one ready at turn 2. You want to win more? You get it. You play Tortured Existence, a 1 mana enchantment, and for 1 black mana choose and discard a creature card. Return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. This 1 mana enchantment is extremely powerful in this deck, simply because your hand and your graveyard will be used as a toolbox, and all you need is at least 4 mana available to be ready to always create a token when you need it. In great combination with Tortured Existence comes Dusk Mangler, a 7 mana 5/4, and as an additional cost to cast a spell, sacrifice a creature, discard a card, or pay for life. When Dusk Mangler enters the battlefield, each opponent sacrifices a creature, discards a card, and loses 4 life. If you can chain several activations of Hashaton, Tortured Existence, and Dusk Mangler together, you will get rid of a lot of your opponent's resources, whether by creatures on the battlefield, cards in their hand, or their overall life total, and as soon as they have no interaction left, you can just swing with your 4/4 armies of zombies. Alright guys, these were a few cards that I would play in Hashaton, Scarab's Fist. Make sure to check out my full deck list in the notes below. Let me know which cards you would add to the deck, which legendary creature I shall feature next, and then I would say see you in the next one. Goodbye guys.